back to Succeed with Omid. It's been a while, I've missed you, it's been a crazy few months for me, but today it's going to be a little bit of a longer video. We're talking a lot about sitting and how it leads to a lot of people's back pain. And excuse the booty shorts right now, but it's necessary for the visuals. I've got the top of my hip bones here and my thighs down here. There's a little itty bitty tiny muscle called the TFL, tensor fascia lata. It's part of the quad series, but not quite 100% connected to them. But it basically does what my shorts are doing right now. It pinches this area right here. It's supposed to basically internally rotate and elevate the hip. But if I'm sitting, I'm in that position already. So that muscle that's normally this long gets really short. It gets tight and it doesn't get worked out. Now if I stand up and I hold my hips in this position, oh, this is the super exaggerated version, but that's basically what it does. Now what do? I still have to see the world, so I'll extend into this position. And you'll see this belt line that's basically sitting on the hips should be here, but that TFL gets nice and tight and pulls us into this position. My back is already in a fairly bad position. Move this step out of the way for the next part. But if I'm here and I start walking away from you, watch my lower back. This little tipping and rotation that happens really starts to wear down quite a bit on that low spine. If I have a pelvis that's tipped forward and rotating and rocking next to the spine just gets worn down. I'm over-exaggerating all the positions so you can see it, but it really doesn't take much. Think about it like your car tires. If the alignment is off even just a little tiny bit, and you're driving thousands of miles, it's not just the tires that are going to wear it down, it's the actual axles themselves, the timing belts, the alternators, all these types of things, and the car really can start to wear down quickly over time. Especially with the prevalence of Apple Watches, Fitbits, all the gears and everything like that we wear to see, oh, I want 10,000 steps. That little rotation ain't so bad when we're only taking 4 or 5 a day. But if we're taking 4 or 5,000 steps a day, it really starts to lead to some problems. So I'm going to change positions in the video and show how you can easily fix that kind of stuff, all right? Be right back. A ball and the wall are just two of the easiest little things you can do. Imagine if you have a pocket right here and you stick your fingers into the pocket only. That's kind of where the hip crease actually is. The top of that hip crease is right where the TFL is, roughly. But anything is fair game anywhere in that kind of hand span in your pocket. You're going to put that ball next to the wall and just lean into it. If I only lean a little bit, I don't have a lot of body weight into the ball. I can sweep back and forth. I can move down a little bit. I can move up a little bit. Just don't roll on your actual hip bone itself. I used to do this a lot on the floor, but what I figured out on the floor is that the gravity of the situation, is actually just, it's too constant. You can't quite gradiate the pressure off, because if I'm rolling and I feel like, oh, nasty tight spot, I really can't back off when I'm on the floor. So I like doing this against the wall because I can lower the ball and lower myself and lean quite a bit into this thing and find some nasty spots. If I'm light enough on this where I'm really not breathing very hard, doing anything, it's just like getting licked by kittens, it's not going to do anything. I do want to get to a point where my abs really do have to start contracting, because there is a little bit of damage in there that I want to clear through. Last tip on this is if I get the leg behind me as I'm doing this, I'm going to stretch for that TFL a little bit, and it's going to get a lot worse. So if you ever get into a position where you hold your breath, that's too much. Okay, we really can't do some bruising on that tissue, so just make sure you're at about a 5 or a 6 on your tolerance from 0 to 10. And you'll still get enough of release to cause some healing to happen, okay? I got 2 more for you. So I started by saying that when that TFL area gets tight, it tips us forward into this back angle. But the challenge is when we start walking, it starts shifting around a whole bunch. Walking is just getting 1 foot forward, 1 foot in back. Now when I go from there naturally, with the TFL tight, it just gets pulled down. It's down this way. It's missing hip extension. I need to have a straight hip, or even further than straight, but still parallel, and be able to get into that position, our traditional lunge type position. You can get a chair, you can even do this on anything as high as a curb and it'll still work. But find something to balance with at first. Get the balance out of the way, find the good position in the stretch. Once you get used to doing that, then take the stick away. So I'm going to use it today to show you guys. This is just for balance. I'm going to put my foot on the opposite side up here. What that's going to do is it's going to help me get into a neutral position, but the muscle that does that is the glute. I want to be able to train my glute. I'm not leaning forward to find it. I'm rotating the hip underneath. to squeeze into that stretch. This leg being up just helps me do that. But then instead of leaning forward, I want to actually rotate further with a straight leg. If your quad is tight, for example, if I do that, the knee starts to bend. And I'll actually rotate my back into this too. I really just want to keep this in the pelvis, stretching into that muscle. You can even lean towards the camera with this and try and stretch sidely or obliquely to that to get that stretch as well. For this, I try to find a position where I'm, again, not being able to hold my breath. It hurts so much because I can't hold that for that long. We want at least about 90 seconds on this. A 2-minute stretch is a beautiful stretch to really get some oxygen into their breathing in nice and deep. But again, enough of a stretch where it's not just boring. All right, you can do this while watching TV. It's a beautiful thing. Coffee tables are awesome for this too. But we can actually turn this into an exercise. Once you've worked through like ball rolling or doing this kind of stretch and you have a good confidence in that stretch or the glute to be able to squeeze, we can actually turn this into an exercise, backing up and being able to put the foot on the step and pulling yourself forward with the hamstring on this leg. Think about it like this. If I pull the ball over and I put the ball up there, if I stay still and I pull the ball towards me, that's the hamstring pulling, and if I push the ball away, that's the quadricep working, but the hip hasn't moved. What I want to do is do that on the step. I'm actually going to be engaging my hip, bracing my pelvis, and I'm already feeling a minor little stretch. I'm going to increase the stretch by squeezing a muscle. That's how we learn things in our brain. So you can even grab that hamstring, pull yourself forward into the stretch. It's only a few inches. And then without tipping the pelvis, push yourself backwards to neutral. Straight up and down here, pulling yourself forward, keeping that hip in a neutral alignment, and then pushing backwards. What we're trying to approximate here is when I take a step forward and I start walking, my hip is going to stay parallel to the ground. I get rid of that rotation that was happening before. So you can do this for sets of 5, sets of 10, sets of 15, even sets of 30, depending on how much of a stretch you are getting. But the idea is we're trying to do more reps than less, so back off if it's stretching too much. And you can turn this move into just this big. Ooh, it's a big stretch, I'm good there. And just do 30 of them. Breathing the whole time, no pain, otherwise stop. This is a sensitive area of the body to stretch through. We don't want to stretch it too much that you can't walk the next day, but just a little bit. Eventually we can turn this into strength moves by adding cables and pulling stuff and pushing stuff into all different kinds of positions here and whatnot. But for now, if you're having back pain, it's a sign that the neurological function of the hip is actually off, and we want to lower the intensity so we can actually teach ourselves something functional for once. And then get back into the heavy stuff later, all right? Last thing I want to say about this, guys, if you're into the spiritual, metaphysical kind of part about this, you know that all of the areas down here have to do with security, safety, comfort, power generation, sexuality, all of the stuff that's basically at the root of us. If you don't believe in that kind of stuff, scientifically it makes a lot of sense too. If you know any power lifters like Mark Bell or Mark Riptower and those kind of people, they say that power generation of the chest press even comes from the hips. And being able to dig into the floor and give yourself that foundation of movement and bracing. So it really makes sense that having a good, functional, strong hip system and musculature around there is great for our survival and in general just confidence, being able to express ourselves into something, being able to push, being able to pull, being able to twist. All of that stuff happens first at the hips. And then we get to start being able to turn rotations and big ranges of motion and everything from a confident, strong foundational position. So it's important to go after this sort of stuff, especially if you're having back pain. Priority number 1, get rid of the pain, but priority number 2 is this will even affect your confidence at work, in a relationship, in sex, in looking sexy, and feeling good about yourself, and being happy and healthy like I always say. So I hope this information was very helpful to you guys. To be redundant, as always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, but otherwise, I'll talk to you later.